Hello, welcome once again to Mount Tabor Grand Lodge YouTube channel. I'm Grand Master Herbert M. Ware, 33rd. Today I'm going to weigh in on what is Freemasonry. We've heard a lot, we've seen a lot, there's a lot out there as far as different takes on what Freemasonry is and what it is all about. I'm going to today do part one of a two-part video on what is Freemasonry. Today I checked Google and received over 11 million results for what is Freemasonry. As of October in 2014, it was like 4 million, a little over 4 million results. So we can safely assume that Freemasonry has obviously become a much more popular topic for Masonic authors and people delving into it to find out all about it. People are trying to find out what does it mean to various folks, what it should mean, and quite often they want to tell you what it should mean to you. But the Masonic authors and so forth, basically in their attempt to answer the question of what is Freemasonry, most authors write long, eloquent, flowing paragraphs enumerating Freemasonry's many benefits. The virtues, the mystic symbolism, the history, the philosophy, the religious spirituality of it, the universality of it, and its feelings of brotherhood among men across the world. So much like the reflection in a mirror, which reflects the true self, men receive from Freemasonry exactly what they put into it. When you research it, you're going to get exactly what you are after. The most fascinating article I found was entitled Facets of Diamond. At the present day, it says, we find much uncertainty as to what Freemasonry is or means. Some call it a religion, others merely religious. Some say it's fundamental dogma. It's monotheism. Others add immortality of the soul or even resurrection of the body. Some consider it Christian, while still others say that fundamentally it has no religious doctrine at all. Many think of Masonry as almost a temperance, and others a patriotic society to uphold the flag, constitution, and public schools. Now, not a few regard it as a charitable or benevolent institution, at least expecting it to create a care for them in their old age. Some look to the lodge as a holy place, while others merely look at the lodge as a private room where the ceremonies can be performed in secrecy. Many take the ritual literally, while others symbolically. While a few, with no doubt about it either way, perfect themselves in the rendition in order to gain the immense or eminence which comes from passing through the chairs. So some see all sorts of meanings in the symbols. Others see only symbols themselves. Some become immersed in the history of the fraternity. Others in the philosophy of the life. And a few work out of it a fine and exalting spirituality. Some sense a strong bond of brotherhood. Others, find a social club. So surely, if Freemasonry is a jewel, it is a diamond with many facets. Now, I've been involved in Freemasonry for over 3 decades, so I can really tell you what it means to me and what it has done for me. However, with the rise of the internet, it's possible to research, and of course you have to make your own decisions. What I've come to find and realize over the years, being in the Masonic order, is that The great mysteries of the universe are those that are ever going on around us, and they're so common to us that we seldom ever take notice or even reflect on them. You see, the first scriptures God gave man were written in nature. Freemasonry reveals these scriptures to us. When we look at the fortitude, temperance, patience, and wisdom that are constantly exemplified by the plants and animals on earth, we can't help but realize that all we need to know is in front of us. All we have to do is see. So to answer the question, what is Freemasonry? We must first ask the question, what is Masonry? Freemasonry cannot be understood thoroughly without understanding what Masonry is. And by simply telling you that Masonry is a peculiar system of morality, veiled in allegory, and illustrated by symbols, does not answer the question. Because Masonry is one thing and Freemasonry is another. Now notice, we have Freemasonry, and we need to separate them and make them into two words. Let's deal with free. A slave cannot be a Mason. A person incarcerated, locked up, body restricted and bound cannot be a Freemason, because they do not have freedom of thought, freedom of will. They do not control what they think. They are influenced. Their environment influences them as to what and how they think. So they are not able to stand alone. And that is a question that we have to ask ourselves. Are we able to stand alone? In contrast, in spite of populist opinion. You see, every lodge has what's called a VSL, which is a volume of sacred law. Now, every lodge is supposed to adhere to the principles and precepts of their VSL. So a man is free to think within the bounds of his volume of sacred law and decide who, what, when, why, and how. And all of those answers should be congruent with his volume of sacred law. For us, it is the Holy Bible here at Mount Tabor. Now, Masonry can be traced only to association of builders and architects. Every ceremony in our ritual, every symbol in the philosophy of speculative Freemasonry indicates and positively proves that it has been derived from and is closely connected to the art of building. You see, the first Masons were builders. They could have been nothing else. There has forever been teachings going forth and taught to help poor, struggling humanity build and elevate to a higher plane of intellectual and spiritual unfoldment. So in Freemasonry, we distinctly understand that the vast number of our sublime, beautiful, and glorious Masonic truths are embodied in our religious and philosophies that are contained in our Bible. And they are not new truths, but they are as old as the stars. The Holy Bible says in Ecclesiastes 1:9, there is nothing new under the sun. So Freemasonry teaches the building of the temple of human character through the development of faculties, capacities, and powers laden with the sanctuary of the soul of every intelligent human entity. Our legends, our allegories, and symbols are purely allegorical. They teach us a knowledge of life, death, and immortality of the soul. So Masonry has never been meant to replace or modify a man's belief or doctrine. Now, as I said earlier, our VSL, our volume of sacred law, the book that we open on the altar and work from, is the Holy Bible. In our Bible, it says in Matthew 10:33, and I summarize a little bit, Jesus says if we deny Jesus before man, he will deny us before his Father, or our Father in heaven. So having said that, a Mason is to be a walking example of his sacred book that is on the lodge's altar. There is and never has been a Masonic God. So every member in Freemasonry is to think, speak, and walk and act according to the religious book in his lodge. So a man should be a member of a lodge that believes as he does. When you see a Freemasonry, he's standing. He's supposed to, when you see a Freemason, he's supposed to be standing on his volume of sacred law. If a man is earnest in his desire to improve himself, he will be found studying the ritual and their chosen sacred book. And don't forget the dictionary. So Freemasonry gives us the ability to also fellowship and aid our fellow man without attitudes and superfluities of the world. Mind you, all our Masonic legends, allegories, and symbols, again, are perfectly understood and easy to understand by those who diligently seek to receive and understand them. More especially, this is so true for the one who strives to keep his first vow, and that is to subdue his passions and improve himself in Masonry. Now, when a candidate is initiated into our fraternity, it symbolizes a birth into a new life. So he will find himself surrounded by the perfect blend of spiritual precepts and wisdom of the ages, even though he has yet to understand it. If he lives continually according and under that divine guidance, he will enter into the realm of highest wisdom. And even in the most trivial ebbs and flows of life, he will never find himself in doubt or perplexity, because he always knows what to do and how to do it. Now, what to do and how to do are two of the gifts of the Holy Spirit. The candidate also makes a promise when he comes into the lodge. Afterwards, he makes a solemn declaration, and then he is invested with an obligation, all in front of God and the lodge, the fulfilling of which, and by keeping his promise, makes him in truth and deed a Mason beginning to search for not worldly but spiritual truths. all of the evil, unhappiness, misery, and want in the world are attributed to man and are the direct results of his taking his life, either consciously or unconsciously, either directly or indirectly, out of harmony with the power that works for righteousness and wholeness and perfection. So Masonry assists man in his obtaining alignment, if you will, with that power. And when our lives are lived in the life of God, God will therefore become, God's will becomes our will. Then all will be well with us. But contrary to God's will, it is impossible for anything of substance to come to pass or last. Masons, members of the Freemasonic order, Freemasonry, understand this whole principle and precept idea. As a man passes from one degree to another degree, revelation, more and more and more revelation is revealed to him, and the qualities and powers of the divine life are more accessible to him and more realized So they should be actualized in a man's life. I said before on a previous video, if a man is involved in Freemasonry and he does not see elevation, improvement, and a better quality of life, then he is not applying himself, or he's in the wrong place. So these revelations lead to the possession of all other things in our life. So he who comes into full and realization of his oneness with the divine life which brought us here on earth, and once we become into the right relationship with the one who brought us here in life, then we will prosper, we will have peace, and we will have power. We will serve our fellow man in earnest. Understand, all of this comes about because we have to have the right thing in us. When you say, what is Freemasonry? Freemasonry is a group of men who live from the inner life, not the outer life. Whatever is in the interior will take form and shape in the exterior. So Freemasonry helps to impart in us, put in us what is supposed to be and what comes from our Creator. There is no true life. There's no nothing on God's green earth that does not operate in this manner. Everything flows from the inside out. In other words, Freemasonry, let me kind of summarize it this way. Freemasonry is a gardening process of sowing, planting on the inside and reaping on the outside. When a man submits and allows the will of God to be done in the inward life, then it is done in all things in the outward life. Freemasons have neither fear nor difficulties in regards to the future, because he knows, contrary to God's will, which is now his will, nothing can ever come to pass, and so peace is his, full, abiding, and continually his. So in wrapping this up, absolutely nothing a man has agreed to conflicts with his obligation to God, his family, or the laws of his country. When a man becomes involved in Freemasonry, he is now declared, decreed, a man among men, because he stands for truth, he stands for relief, and most of all, brotherly love. So while the vast majority of people go with popular opinion, a man involved in Freemasonry will stand for what is right, even in the face of persecution. Freemasonry works hand in hand with the Bible to give your life a new point of reference, one that does not bend, shake, move, or change. I do thank you for sharing this time with me. I ask that you review some of the other videos that we have. There are two that are of particular importance and powerful. One is the enemy's perfect plan, and the other counters it with the abundant life. Those are two that I definitely recommend to everyone and anyone. So review our videos, subscribe if you will, opt for notifications for future videos. Like us and follow us on Facebook. Thank you very much for your time.